Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Today I'll show you step by step how to write a perfect function specification document. To understand better, first I'll give you a quick demo of the e-commerce application called TechBasket, and then we will prepare the function specification document for it. By the end of the video, you will get to know my secret checklist for writing a perfect FSD. Trust me, you will need this. Okay, let's get started. So now on the screen, what we see is the dashboard of the e-commerce application called TechBasket. At the top, we have the search bar, and at the center, we can see the list of products. Okay, now using the search bar, we'll be able to search items. So let's say if I type Apple and I click search, here we can see the list of items which is having the name Apple. Then let me search for the word tab. Yeah, so we can see on the screen that system is listing all the products which is having the word tab. Now, for example, if I list mango and I click search, here you can see that this is the search word. It is not getting any result. So we are able to see no product found. Okay, so let me go back to the main page. Now, if you look at the product details, right? So for each product, we have an image. We have the name of the product, the brand, as well as the price. And then finally, we have a add to cart button. So using the button, we'll be able to purchase the product, or you can say adding the product to the cart. So let me just click on add to cart here. In this case, you see, you will get a confirmation message saying that your product has been added. Okay, so let me add one more product. So let's say I will add this iPad Slim 5. Yeah, again, you can see on top, we can see the confirmation message. Okay, so now we have added two products to the cart. Let us go to the cart. Yeah, so here on the screen, you are able to see the list of items which we have added to the cart. Now within the list of items, you can actually see the name of the product, the count, and the amount, right? And also the system will show the total amount. You have an option to increase or decrease the count. So let's say if we increase the count for Lenovo iPad from 1 to 2, we will see the amount is getting updated and also the grand total is getting updated. Okay, so once you have added the items to the cart, you can click on order now. This will take us to the address page where you can enter all the required address. So let me just enter the address here. Yeah, once I've added the address, I'll click submit. Post submit, it will take me to the payment options page. Here I have options like net banking, credit card, or cash on delivery. As per my choice, I can select the payment option. So let me select cash on delivery and I'll click place order. Yeah, so once the order is placed, we'll be able to see the confirmation message on the screen. So now if required, we can continue shopping and we can go to the dashboard again. Okay, so now we have seen the demo for the e-commerce application. Okay, so let's start with the FSD. First, we have the project information. Here we have listed the project name, the type of document, the version number, date on which the document was written, and the author of the document. Next, we have the document information. This contains the version, date, author, reviewer, and details of the changes done. Each time we update the document, we will also update the version number, date, author, and the reviewer. In case we have multiple people working on the document, then maintaining proper track of the author and reviewer is very important. Okay, so next we go forward. We have the table of contents. So this will be updated as per the details you have mentioned in the document. So next we have the purpose of the document. The purpose explains why we are writing the document, overall goal we want to meet from this document. This basically helps everyone quickly understand the intent of the document, right? So in this case, what we have written the purpose is that this document defines a functional and non-functional specification for the TechBasket e-commerce application, a customer-facing portal designed to facilitate the online shopping experience. This includes detailed requirements for key features such as product search, shopping cart management, and checkout and payment process. The specification will serve as a comprehensive guide for development, testing, and implementation of the application. Okay, next we have intended audience. So here we list the people with the roles who should read or use this document. This ensures we clearly define the audience and their responsibility with respect to the document. In this case, we can see that we have listed the names of people, the role, and if they are approver and their respective email ID. So this will help us connect with respective stakeholders as and when required with respect to the document. Next, we have references. In references section, we provide the details of the document, artifacts, links, which we have referred during our analysis. This gives context and helps in traceability, making it easy to find supporting information, right? So in this case, what we have mentioned is basically the documents what we have seen for our e-commerce project like the BRD, the wireframes, the client user manual, and the payment gateway integration document. Next is glossary. Glossary defines the key terms, acronyms, and jargon that are used in the document. This prevents confusion and ensures everyone uses the same language. So next we have overall description. So we'll start with the product perspective. This section gives a high-level view of the application and the feature it will support. The main goal is to establish the context of the product within the larger ecosystem. So basically, in our case, if you see, we have mentioned e-commerce application will be available on web and mobile platform. Customers will be able to access and use all the services offered by TechBasket through this application. Next, we have the product features or the feature list. Here we provide the list of major functionality or capability the product will provide. This gives a quick overview and acts as a checklist for stakeholders and testers. Next, project scope. In scope. In this section, we will include features that will be delivered as part of the project. This will set clear boundaries and manage stakeholder expectations. In this particular case, we have mentioned that we have to refer the section 2.2 for the features. Next, we have outer scope. Here, we will list items which is not included in the project or release. This will prevent scope creep and avoid any misunderstanding. So in our case, we have mentioned order history, user profile management, product returns, and logistics. So these all features will be actually out of scope and will not be considered during development. Next, we have operating environment. So in this particular case, we will actually list the platforms which is supporting by the applications. In our case, we will have browser, that is Chrome, Safari, and Edge will be supported. And in the mobile app, we'll have iOS and Android platforms will be supported. Okay. The next section is assumptions and dependencies. In assumptions and dependencies, we will list any assumptions we have made on which the system relies, like API integration, technical constraints, and others. In our case, we have listed payment gateway integration, product catalog availability, customer will have good internet connection. So all these points are basically assumed that they will be available before the development starts. Okay. So next we have system features. So basically in this document, there are actually three features what we are looking for. One is searching a product, second add to cart, and third checkout and make payment. With respect to this video, we will focus more on checkout and make payment. Before we start writing the feature details, let's focus on the below checklist. Following this checklist guarantees consistency, minimize gaps, and makes the FSD easy for everyone to understand and implement. So first we have actors. These are the users of the system who will perform the required activities. For example, customers, admin users, delivery team, etc. Next, we have precondition. Precondition describes what condition must be true before the process begins. For example, customers must be logged in to buy the product, or customer can order max 10 units per item. Next, we have the acceptance criteria. These are the specific conditions to be met for a feature to be considered as complete. Testing team will check the acceptance criteria during the testing activity and confirm if the feature is complete. Next, we have business workflow. This step explains the step-by-step process of how the feature will work. We capture these requirements in the form of a diagram and textual representation. Next, we have exception and alternate flows. This step explains possible deviations or alternate path from the main process. It explains how the system should behave, handle errors, cancellation, or unusual situations. Next, we have step-by-step process, screen flow. Here, we show the end-to-end navigation and expected user actions at each step. So basically, we will add all the screen diagrams, wireframes in this section. Data entry and field validation. In this case, we will record the data fields to be captured along with the validation. We will specify a required data format, min, max, limit, mandatory fields, etc. Next, we have business rules. In business rules, we will list down all the rules and logic that governs a process or the feature. For example, customer can order maximum 10 units per item. If the unit count goes beyond 10, then we should give an error message. Next, we have cases and error messages. In this section, we will describe the scenarios, the actions, and the error messages to be given in case of exceptions. Next, user roles and permissions. Here we define the roles who can access or perform specific action in the feature. We will specify permissions for viewing, editing, or approving the data. Notification and alerts. In this section, we will list the events that trigger notification or alerts for users. For example, send SMS on payment or send SMS when order is delivered, audit trail and login. Audit trail will capture all the actions performed by the user. This is required for security or compliance purpose. Next, we have integration points. In this section, we will record the interaction which will happen with third-party systems. We will clearly document what data is exchanged between the system and the integration method used. Next, we have reports. In this section, we will mention the reports to be generated by the system as per the customer or compliance requirement. We will detail on the report format, frequency, and who will have access to the report. Now let's go to the details of the requirement. First, we have requirement ID. We specify a unique identifier for each requirement or feature. It enables us for easy tracking, reference, and change management. Now, in our case, we have mentioned the requirement ID as FR3. So for all the other requirements, we'll keep continuing this as FR4, FR5, FR6, and so on. Title. This is the name of the feature or the requirement. This quickly communicates what the requirement is all about. Okay, so in our case, we have mentioned checkout and make payment. Okay, next we have actors. So customer will be our actor in this case. Then precondition. So in this case, we have customers should be logged in and items must already be present in the cart. Next, we have acceptance criteria. Customer will be able to check out and make successful payment. When testing team checks the particular scenario, they will check if the customer is able to successfully make the payment, and then they will mark the status as success. Okay, business workflow. So the business workflow will give you a step-by-step process, how the flow is getting executed. Okay, let's see the process end to end. First, the customer will log in and go to the cart. And customer will see the items added in the cart and will click on place order button. Then system will display the address page. Customer will enter the address and submit. Once submitted, system will validate the address. If the address is invalid, then system will display the error message. If the address is valid, then system will show the payment options page. Here, the customer has option to select either of the payment option. Customer can select credit card, net banking, or cash on delivery. If the customer selects cash on delivery, then order will be created in the system and a success message will be displayed to the customer. If the customer selects credit card or net banking as payment option, then customer will be redirected to the payment gateway page for further processing. Payment gateway partner will process the payment and send the response back. If the response was successful, then order will be placed and confirmation message will be shown to the customer. If the response was failed, then error message will be shown to the customer. So here we see the end-to-end process of how this particular feature will work, right? In a similar manner, we will write the end-to-end workflow in a textual format. Okay, next we have the alternate or exception flows. So if payment gateway response is not received within 3 minutes, then show error message, payment is in progress. Please check the status after some time. Here in this case, we are specifying that if in case we are not receiving the response from the payment gateway, then we will mention that payment is in progress and please check the status after some time. So within exception flows, we are actually capturing all the alternate flows or the exception scenarios which will happen during the feature execution. Okay, next we have the step-by-step process flow. Here in this section, we should add all the screens what we have seen before. Next, we have data entry and field validation. In our user journey for checkout and make payment, what we saw is that we have the address page, right, where we enter the details. Now on the address page, we have multiple fields like field name, address 1, address 2, city, state, contact number, etc. Yeah, for each field, we should specify the field name, the purpose, the if the field is mandatory or optional or conditional, and the validation. So let's say in case of full name, the validation will be min length 3, max length 50, only allow A to Z characters. Okay, let's say for example, city. In city, the field is mandatory. The minimum length is 1, the maximum length is 50, and we will only allow A to Z characters. So such kind of validations are required to be added into the document so that during implementation, the developer will be able to exactly implement what is mentioned in the document. Okay. Then on that particular page, we also have the submit button. So whenever we are creating a form, right, we should mention all the fields. We should mention the detailed validation and the buttons like submit, cancel, clear, right? All the buttons will be added on the form. Next, we have data display list. Now, this particular section is important because whenever you are building a feature, you may have a form where you are accepting a data, and second, you may have something to display. In case of the payment workflow, whenever the order is processed, either it is failed or successful or pending, we will show respective messages to the user. So that particular detail needs to be added into the document. So in this case, we have during the payment process, we will receive response from the payment gateway. If we receive success response, we need to display a success confirmation message along with success image. Now, in case of failure, we will receive a failure message and that will be displayed on the screen. And if in case we don't receive a message, then we need to display a pending status message. Next, we have business rules. So business rules are basically the logic, right, or the conditions that govern the particular feature, right? Now, in this case, we have order placement will be allowed if all the items in the cart are available in the stock, right? Let's say when you are adding the item to the cart, at that point of time, the items were available, so you are allowed to add the item in the cart. But later on, when you are trying to actually place the order, it was understood that the item is no more in the stock. In such cases, system will not allow you to make the order. Okay. And then going to the next point, we have maximum 10 units allowed per product. So this is a condition. So if the customer goes beyond 10 units, we should not allow the customer to add more units to the order. Okay. Going forward, we have cases and error messages. Now, this is one of the important sections where we basically list down all the issues which can happen into the system and what messages we have to show, right? So this considers basically the positive and the negative cases. So let's see the first thing. On clicking place order, if one or more items are out of stock, then what to do, right? So then we'll tell the system do not proceed further and show an error message to the user. Secondly, on clicking place order, if one or more items are above 10 units, then also there is an issue here. So do not allow the customer to place the order and show the respective error message. So in such a way, we will capture all the cases or events, then the action the system has to do and the message what we have to show to the customer. Okay, next we have the user roles and permissions. So in this case, we are saying any logged in customer can access the feature. Okay, notification and alerts. Now, whenever we are building a feature, we have to always articulate that for a particular feature or an event, are we sending a message to the customer? Are we notifying the customer? If yes, then we will have to record that information. So in this particular case of the payment workflow, whenever there is a payment happening, we have to send a customer the alert message saying that your payment was successful or your payment failed, right? So we also mention the message template. So in our case, if you see send alert on successful order confirmation or send alert on failed order confirmation, and for each one of them we have specified the message template what we have to use. Next is audit trail and logging. We do this from a compliance and a security perspective. So let's say if there is an issue in future, so we want to go back and trace what really happened, what data was entered by the user, what event was actually executed. So all these things will be recorded into the system. So in this case, we are saying following details to be captured in audit log for the payment workflow, like the customer ID, all the items which are there in the cart, address details, the payment status, and the timestamp. Next, we have the integration points. Whenever we are integrating with a third party system, we should actually record all the details with respect to that integration, the data fields, the method of calling the API, and we should also attach the API document. This will help the developer to understand that what API we have to refer and the method of calling those APIs. Then we have additional details like user interface, hardware interface, and software interfaces. Within the user interface, we actually mention the complete wireframe or the screen flow of the application. Then within the hardware interfaces, we actually mention the details of the hardware which will be used in the application. For example, within e-commerce, if you are using a POS machine or an ATM for some banking processes, right? So those will be mentioned here. Last is the software interfaces. So we will actually attach all the documents for the third-party API integration. So in our case, it will be the payment gateway API document. Okay. Going forward, we have the non-functional requirements. So basically, we have performance, UI design requirement, and the security requirements. Within the performance requirement, we will actually mention the requirement of the client from a system performance perspective, like we need a 99.5% uptime. We want to support 500 concurrent users, right? So all the details with respect to the performance will be mentioned here. In case of UI design requirements, we will mention all the UI design specific pointers which the client wants us to adhere to. For example, responsive design, it should work on tablets, mobile, and desktop systems, right? And secondly, the look and feel should be simple and modern, right? So all the parameters with respect to accessibility, look and feel, the new generation modern design should be mentioned here, as per the client needs. Then we have security requirements. So basically, from a security perspective, we need to ensure that the data is secure. either at rest or whenever it doesn't transit right. We will mention all the conditions which needs to be followed, like PCI DSS compliance for payments and no sensitive data to be stored in the front end. Last, we have the appendix. So in this section, we will mention all the additional details which we have not captured uh, in the above document. Let's quickly recap. A good FSD is clear, structured, and detailed, which includes all the stakeholder requirements. It is easy for the development team to build and test the application. You save time and cost by preventing rework and misunderstanding. The FSD becomes a go-to document for all the requirement clarification and updates. All right, so we have learned how to write a perfect FSD using the checklist, and this will ensure that we always write clear and complete requirements. Do like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or want to see specific videos on business analysis, please comment below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.